Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:00 p.m. and a quorum of members is present, so the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby.
Here.
Mr. Helmer.
Here.
Mr. Kurth.
Here.
Ms. Schulz.
Here.
Mr. Seidel.
Here.
Ms. Unger.
Here.
Ms. Wondercheck.
Ms. Wondercheck let me know she wasn't able to attend this evening. Then I would entertain a motion to recess to closed session.
Madam President, I move to recess into closed session pursuant to Section 19.851C, E, and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider A, the executive session discussion of superintendent's contract and benefits, B, approval of closed session minutes of January 24th, C, employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Helmer. Please call the roll.
Mr. Kurth.
Yes.
Mr. Helmer.
Yes.
Ms. Crosby.
Yes.
Ms. Schulz.
Yes.
Mr. Seidel.
Yes.
Ms. Unger.
Yes.
We are moving into closed session. We'll return to open session around 7:00. It is now 7:01, and we are returning from closed session into open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For all those who are able, please rise. And now for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by providing the agenda to the City Library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the Waukesha Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. We'll begin this evening with privilege of the floor. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business. Actually, do we have any privilege of the floor this evening?
Did not receive any.
Oh, okay. Well, then we will not have privilege of the floor this evening. We don't have any speakers. President's message, I'd just like to thank Ronald Reagan and their staff here for welcoming us tonight, and we look forward to the tour. The administrative team report then is next. We have a school update and brief building tour. That's first.
Yes, so we'd like to go ahead and welcome Reagan to come on up and present what's all the great stuff that's happening at Reagan. And then after we're done, those in the audience are also welcome to go on the tour with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Angela and Matt. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here at Ronald Reagan tonight, and happy Valentine's Day. We appreciate you spending your Valentine holiday with us here at Ronald Reagan. And thank you for all of your support this year. Obviously, it's been another unique year, and we're excited to have all of your support, excited to be doing the great work that we're doing here, and excited to share our update tonight. So we wanted to start with just our overall building goal that we've been working on throughout this school year. We did have a literacy focus last year and wanted to continue that work into this year. With our change from MAP assessment to FastBridge assessment, we also needed to do a little bit of tweaking. Last year, we kind of have had all of our eggs in one basket with looking at just the MAP data, and this year we wanted to expand that to look at multiple data points. So our overall goal this year is that we are looking to have 65% of our students be considered on grade level or proficient in the area of literacy, as measured by meeting 3 out of the 4 criteria instead of just 1 criteria that we focused on last year.
And to help tell our data story this year, we are looking at 4 main criteria. The first is our FastBridge assessments. Students at all different kinds of developmental levels take the assessment 3 times per year. This year, we really wanted to focus on our students that have individual education plans. And due to this, we're including their literacy goals as part of our plans and as a similar criteria. Next up, all students will be assessed a minimum of 3 times, so fall, winter, and spring, for informal and formal running records. And we're trying to determine the just right reading level of those students. Third, we're going back and looking at our students that are in and out of interventions. And for our students that are in interventions, we're looking at whether they met their individual goals. And then finally, we're looking at students that receive a 3 or a 4 or the equivalent of an A or a B on their end-of-year report cards and comparing how they do on 2 important literacy categories.
We did just complete our mid-year assessments, so we're still digging through that data, but a few things to highlight just as we've looked through that data so far. Right now, 71% of our students are considered low risk in the area of reading on the FastBridge assessments that we just took in the last 3 weeks. And 70% of our students are on track with their mid-year informal running record assessment that was also administered in the last 3 weeks. So those are some really great celebrations that we have so far that we were excited to share. In addition to our overall academic goal for our students, we also wanted to make sure that we looked at some of our other subcategories and other assessments that we administer throughout the year. So we wanted to make sure from a staff perspective, we looked at our staff survey from last spring and over the past few years. And one of the areas that sticks out that we're continuing to tend to is our positive school culture. So that's something that we're working on this year. From a parent goal perspective, the questions that kind of rose to the top were about how they could support their child's learning at home, feeling welcome at the school, which is understanding over the last 2 years that we've had. So we've been excited to welcome in-person events again this year, and that the school provides help for students experiencing mental health issues. And then from a student social emotional learning lens, otherwise known as SEL, we're monitoring some of the results from the Bright Bites survey about working on things that really make them think, having a positive attitude towards themselves, and having adults that are available to help them with their social emotional needs.
All right, up next, there are a few things that we're doing to support our goals, and those include, but are not limited to, really looking and digging into student assessment and intervention data. Additionally, we're also really trying to highlight the important things that our staff are doing and recognize them for those things. Additionally, we also are really focusing on collaboration and focusing on our professional learning communities. And this year, something that's new that we're doing is we're focusing on our school leadership teams. So those are on a couple of different areas, including social emotional learning, behavior, digital literacy, universal design for learning, and additionally, culture and climate. And then a few other things that we're doing to celebrate the community connections that we have and to really come together as a system. We're going to highlight up next. Up next for the Fall Fun Run, this was a really great thing for us this year. Over $50,000 was raised by our Home and School Association, which was really great. As our top reward, Angela and I were duct taped to the wall for over 2 hours. Every student got a chance to put a piece of duct tape on us, and they're still, to this day, bringing that up as something that they really liked this school year.
Let me tell you, getting duct taped to a wall for 2 hours is definitely something. When you get down, your legs are kind of jelly. And then the little kids will say to you, "How did you escape? We saw you up there. How did you get down?" So it was a lot of fun. It was great memory. One of the other partnerships that we've been really fortunate to continue to grow and develop this year, not only as a building, but throughout the district, is our partnership with the Education Foundation of New Berlin. They have been tremendous in supporting teacher grant applications and other work throughout the system as they've continued to kind of rebrand and grow themselves. It's just been such a tremendous partnership. So this year, some of the grants that were applied for, just a few to highlight that were accepted, included some flexible seating, a mindfulness club here at Ronald Reagan, as well as some new PE equipment to support a new golf unit. One of the other areas that they've been incredibly supportive with us, for those of you that didn't know, retired teacher Peter Michaud lost his battle with leukemia last November. And immediately the Education Foundation stepped in and said, "How can we support you? How can we help?" And so one of the things that we are working on is we're going to be planting a tree in Peter's memory, because Peter was a huge outdoor advocate. And so a tree will be planted here at Ronald Reagan in April to honor Peter. In addition, they also set up a memorial fund on the Education Foundation website, which can be found here or just at the General Education Foundation website. And then this spring, our student council has been working with the Education Foundation. We always have a penny war every year that used to go to the Leukemia Foundation, partly due to Peter and his work here at Ronald Reagan. And this year, that penny war fundraiser is going to go to the Memorial Fund and Scholarship Fund for Peter. So we're very excited to kick off that scholarship fund, which will be able to go to students and their work here in their work here in the district.
Up next, we're really excited to have our second annual all-school read event. This was something that we began last year and will be kicking off shortly after spring break this year. This is funded completely by our Home and School Association. So they purchase each family one book, and it's the same book that the entire school community gets to read and review and go over together. This year, we're going to be doing an in-person book fair, and we have weekly trivia and prizes that are available to really get everybody pumped up. There's going to also be an all-school read-in event and a Dress Like Your Favorite Book Character Day. And then finally, the whole thing culminates with a family literacy night to really tie everything together. And then a couple other ways that we're giving back and staying connected with our community. First, over the past over the past 4 years, we've the New Berlin Junior Women's Club has been doing an Adopt a Family event. That has been a great way for us to get anonymous gifts for families in need that provides coats, gloves, and winter hats. The past year, there have been 20 children that benefited from 13 different families, and special thanks goes out to Office Administrative Assistant Jen Macakanja, Todd Rennick, our school psychologist, and Claire Sorge, our elementary social worker, for their roles in this important event.
One of our other focuses this year has also been on just continuing to spread kindness and to take care of each other. Coming together to take care of each other is always important, and it's really been incredibly important over the last few years. So a few things that we've been doing to continue to foster that positive school environment and culture. Our students and staff have been celebrating Kindness Weeks. We had one in November, and we currently kicked off Kindness Week this week in February, which is the Random Acts of Kindness Week, according to the calendar, if you follow those. Kids are able to write kind notes to each other. We have the Kindness Olympics going on right now. That's connected to the basically the Beijing Olympics, where they have the opportunity to show kindness to themselves, their peers, the community, things like that. They're setting their own kindness goals and reflecting on what makes them special and unique. We had Family PE Week in the fall, where families could join their students for PE class, which was really fun. It was great to see some adults get pretty sweaty in PE class while they came in to join their student during PE, and they really got to see what that was about. Mrs. Malloy and Mr. Bisworm really put him to work, so that was a lot of fun. We hosted anti-bullying days in September and Unity Day in October. And then in December, we hosted 13 days of winter fun, which had a spirit day every day to continue to spread kindness and togetherness throughout our building. And we have more fun things coming up this spring. Another strong tradition that we have here at Ronald Reagan includes our student council and our Reagan Gives Back program. In October, they held an anti-bullying poster contest. We had a food drive in November for the New Berlin Food Pantry that was also connected to our Kindness Week. In December, we had our annual door decorating contest. In January, there was a new Adopt an Animal partnership that worked in conjunction with the Milwaukee County Zoo that was incredibly successful. They raised almost $1,000 for that, which was wonderful. And just last week, we had our February Valentine's sale hosted by our student council, where they sold out in 2 days. And that money goes to help raise funds to purchase new playground equipment like balls and jump ropes and things like that that get worn out throughout the year. So we're very excited about that, and there's even more to come.
All right, all year we've been taking time to celebrate and observe our monthly observances. That started this year as we kicked off things in September with Hispanic Heritage Month. In November, we honored our veterans and we celebrated Native American Heritage Month. And in February, we're currently honoring Black History Month with student-created biographies as part of our morning news each morning. And there is a student collaborative research project that highlights the amazing African-American contributions to this world. And up next in March, we're looking forward to celebrating Women's History Month. All right, and then we still have a lot to come in the school year. So there's a lot that we're looking forward to, and you're welcome to participate in any of these events and join in on the fun.
Thanks so much for having us tonight. Any questions?
Well, we can always ask while we're wandering
sure
around the
can.
building. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start the tour. And you are welcome to follow Angela and Matt around and ask questions as we go. It'll be a nice quick tour for anyone who wants to join. Thanks. So as long as you guys are good, we thank you very much, Reagan. That was amazing. We really appreciate the update and the tour. That was great. And I'm going to have Emily kind of do the student representative update from New Berlin West.
Thank you. New Berlin West's new Innovation and Design class had a seminar at the district office in the beginning of February where they worked on team skills and received their project-based questions for the semester. They will work in small groups to answer their questions with help from mentors. Students in Spanish 6 AP have been writing to pen pals in Spain. They are able to share their cultures as well as improve their Spanish skills. Chambers Choir did Singing Valentine's today. Students in the choir worked to create mashups of love songs to sing to the students. West student Amelia Olson has been chosen to represent West at the Wisconsin Leadership Seminar this summer. Students wrapped up their class registration last week for the upcoming school year. Mamma Mia took place the first weekend of February and was a huge success. Students worked hard in the crew, cast, and pit, and it all paid off. There was a fun Spirit Week leading up to the show, along with a teaser for students to watch during Flex. This show was the highest attending performance on record at New Berlin West for one weekend. Kudos to the students involved. DECA is running a toy drive in honor of Peyton Alexander. This drive will run through February, and donations will be given to teenagers at Children's Hospital in Wisconsin. NHS is running a blood drive on February 23rd. We are partnering with Versity Blood Center to support cancer research through blood donations in honor of Peyton Alexander. New graphics are being put up in the Drexel Fieldhouse featuring highlights from West sports history. West Baseball will be hosting a casino night on February 26th to raise money for the season. New Berlin United Wrestling won both dual and tournament conference for the first time since 1966. Last weekend they had regionals, and 10 of the boys will be moving on. The road to state comes through our Drexel Fieldhouse as we host sectionals this weekend. New Berlin West Poms went to state and got 3rd in Pom and 5th in hip hop. New Berlin West Cheer had success at regionals and will advance to state. Last weekend they were in Disney for nationals. And West had their final Vike night last week for boys basketball, and we hope to carry on the tradition. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the superintendent update.
Very quick. Our COVID numbers continue to go down. As of Friday, we had 10 positive for students and 1 positive for staff. So our numbers are continuing to decline. And as you have seen across the United States, the mask mandates are being lifted in other areas. So we continue to do well in the district. Very quickly, we were lucky to present at the Wisconsin Education Conference with our Mental Health Advisory Committee. So we had our mental health partner and one of our parents participated, and we will be bringing that, kind of minimized presentation to the board in some upcoming months. So we had a pretty good turnout, and a lot of board members across the state were pretty excited about what we were doing. So we're very proud of that and wanted to share that with you. And that's pretty much it for us.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the notice, approved minutes of January 24th, approve a new student group, the Bass Clef Choir Club, and did I say that wrong? Bass. I should know this. DECA overnight field trip, and also an international field trip to France. Are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration?
Did you read the choir club? It says to
Yes.
give low voice singers a community. I thought that was kind of funny. I didn't know that we didn't have this, that there's more, was it treble choirs than, but learn something new every day.
Yes. Is there anything else? No? Okay, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Seidel to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. On to the regular agenda. First on the regular agenda is discuss approve audited financial statements for previous fiscal year ended June 30th.
Thank you. I'll invite Mike Sama, partner with Schumacher and Sama. Mike is the partner who oversees the financial audit that takes place, I guess, starting in June and completing in August. And then they go off-site to complete all the paperwork and before it's due to DPI. Mike has been working with the district for many years and is here tonight to present a short summary of the financial audit. That audit is in the packet in full, and once approved, I'll ask Diana to either include this summary in the minutes or it can be posted on the website. Mike, thanks for being here with us tonight, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Yeah, so just briefly, we were formerly known as Feld, Schumacher and Company, and we changed our name this year and actually moved our location. We were in West Dallas, now we're in Wauwatosa, but essentially the same company, just new name. First, I just want to say thank you to Pat and Crystal and all of the business office staff for really making the audit go a lot smoother than it does in some other cases at other places we have to audit. Just being organized and really cooperative, it really makes things go a lot smoother, so thank you. So you all have a 2-page summary here. I'm just going to go through the high points of the audit. So the audit report contains an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements, meaning the statements fairly present the financial position and results of the year's operations. Number 2, the government auditing standards report on internal control and compliance over financial reporting identified one deficiency in internal control related to preparation of the audited financials. So pretty much every district in the state has this finding because it's more efficient to hire the auditor to prepare the 80-page audited financial statements than hiring a CPA who's going to have to keep up with all the government auditing standards and things like that. So it's not really a major concern, but it's technically something we have to report as a finding. Number 3, the single audit report on internal control and compliance over major federal and state programs contains an unmodified opinion and did not identify any deficiencies in internal control. Number 4, our audit letter to the board addresses our responsibility as auditors and what you can expect from an audit and the financial statements. It states that there were no disagreements with management and we had no difficulties in performing this year's audit. And then number 5, the district implemented GASB statement number 84, which relates to fiduciary activities. Essentially, many of the funds that were once considered student activity funds and Fund 60, according to this new standard, were no longer appropriate to be there. So now they largely were moved to Fund 21, the gift fund. So there was a beginning adjustment that I'll run through the numbers of that in the next page. So then we go to page 2, just the summary of the kind of the total numbers. So starting with the government funds that correlate to the DPI annual report. The total current assets, $25,231,306. Total assets, $25,231,306. Total current liabilities, $4,124,625. Total fund balances, $21,106,681. And total liabilities and fund balance, $25,231,306. The statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. So the revenues, which included some debt proceeds, $79,699,738. Expenditures, $75,676,626. So the total increase in fund balance was $4,023,112. Then we go to the district-wide statements. This is full accrual statements that include a lot of other information that's not normally required by the DPI in the annual report. It includes all of the buildings and WRS pension amounts and things like that. So total current assets, 25,231,306. Net capital assets and deferred outflows, 91,714,921. Total assets, 116,946,227. Total current liabilities, 9,216,295. Non-current liabilities and deferred inflows, 69,861,572. Net position is 37,868,360. So total liabilities and net position, 116,946,227. And then the statement of activities, total revenues, 66,169,957. Expenditures, 58,741,371. So total increase in net position, 7,428,586. Then we just run through the budget. So the general fund final budget numbers. So the total revenues, 54,643,817. This is in the final budget. Expenditures, including transfers, 54,695,697. So there was a budgeted deficit of 51,880. And the actual results, the revenues, 55,519,246. Expenditures, 52,102,000. So in the actual results, it was a surplus of 3,417,246. And then finally, on the bottom is just, this is the adjustment needed to become in conformity with GASB 84. So the fund balance, as it was reported July 1st, 2020, was 16,726,925. And so we ended up adding 356,644 to reclassify out of the student activity funds and into the gift fund. And then the fund balance as restated, 17,083,569. So does anyone have any questions?
We changed over, I guess more to Patrick. We changed over our software. Did this help with the audit process? Was it more difficult, or is this too early to tell because this is kind of our first full year with that?
I'm really glad you asked that question, Bitch, because actually, Mike, first of all, thank you for the kind words from my staff. We work very hard to have a smooth and clean audit. One of the things that I will say Schumacher and Sama has been a great partner with are some of the efficiencies that we have because of that new software. We're able to produce the reports much more efficiently without all sorts of, I guess, gyrations that where you're downloading data and creating reports in spreadsheets. And one of the best things is we're able to work with the representatives from Schumacher and Sama to give them auditor access to our data directly in that software. And they've been a great partner in learning how to run those reports in Skyward. And we've gone from probably a grand total of 12 to 15 days of audit to, was it about 6 or 7?
It's definitely less, yeah. Substantial savings.
So it's definitely been a huge improvement.
Did Michael pass that cost savings on to you?
I'll let him answer.
Well, I would just say that, it was nice because we have this auditor access that we can sort of customize things the way we need them and work more effectively, I think, with them. Yeah, I think that's probably the way of the future, and it's just going to improve as it goes. But it was nice, all the invoices and everything are stored electronically where we don't have to be shuffling papers. It can be done remotely in some cases. So a lot of advantages that we saw, I think. Any other questions?
Great job.
Thanks. Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. If there's nothing else, then do I have a motion to approve the audited financial statements for previous fiscal year?
So
ended June
moved.
30th? So I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Kurth. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Then we have discuss approve revision to the 2022-2023 school year calendar.
So Joe kind of teed this up at the last meeting, but we just didn't have it in the packet. So I guess if anyone has any questions about the changes in the calendar, the biggest change in the calendar, as Joe stated at the last meeting, is that we're taking the Thursday and Friday of September 1st and 2nd, making them professional learning days to give our staff more time, especially if we will be rolling out some new ELA resources, and to really make sure that we're ready to go with some improved literacy strategies. But the rest of the calendar is remaining the same, and we have enough student minutes that we won't be short, so.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the revision?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, a second by Mr. Kurth to approve. Any discussion? No discussion, so those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Motion passes. And we have a Personnel Committee update and some Personnel Committee policies, so if Ms. Unger would take that, please.
Sure. So we had a Personnel Committee meeting last Monday. Most of our discussion was in closed session. So during our open session, we reviewed the policies that we'll talk about in a minute. So I will kind of come back to those at the end. But then we also went through many of the items we went through in closed session tonight. Contract non-renewals, wage comparison and staff adjustments for compensation, the employee handbook changes, and some superintendent compensation discussion. And then we do not have any other personnel committee meetings scheduled before the board reorg in April. I don't know if we want to just move on to the policies, and I can kind of introduce those as well.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll review our first reads.
Sure. So from the policy perspective, this was the last batch of policies that had not been reviewed yet by the Personnel Committee. One policy, there are no recommended changes. That's policy 3240. And then there are two policies recommended for deletion, 4115 and 4132. One, because it's really no longer relevant without the wellness coordinator, and the second, because we incorporated the publication of article stuff within the employee handbook instead. And then for the remaining two policies, 4110 and 4123, the recommendation is to use the Neola policy with minor changes. So any questions on those, please feel free to email me and the rest of the Personnel Committee before next meeting.
Any questions on those policies before we move on? Then we have discuss possible action on revisions to the employee handbook. I don't think we're going to actually do that because we meant to have that in the packet, but the employee handbook was not. So if there's any discussion, we can do that now. All right, then we'll move on. Then action on items discussed in closed session. We have some motions to make. Who's going to take that?
I move to approve the employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Seidel. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes.
I move that we approve the employee compensation changes as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Unger and a second by Mr. Helmer. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, all those opposed? Motion passes. Did we have one more? Was that it?
The other stuff was just.
Okay. All right, that was. All right, so no more action on the closed session items. We have future meetings and dates. Our next board meeting Let's see, board meetings are generally held the second and fourth Mondays, beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Eisenhower Commons unless noted otherwise. So we have one coming up on February 28th. And then on March 14th, there is a meeting at New Berlin West Commons, and that's going to include a building tour. And then after that is the March 28th meeting. Other important event dates, spring break is March 21st through 25th. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, a second by Mr. Seidel. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.